everyone. Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship. We have a very exciting game coming up next. It's two of our top Korean players at the top of their groups. Please help me welcome to the stage from LGIM, the GSL four-time champion, MVP. And his opponent, 2-0 in the group. Please welcome to the stage, Dream. 준비됐습니까?
네.
준비됐습니까?
네.
감사합니다. Please shake hands. They are ready, folks, and they are about to begin. I'm going to hand it back to the analyst desk.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. We have a very, very exciting match here. Two Terrans, of course, which pleases QXC greatly, but two of the top Korean players here at this tournament, and both of them are in a very strong position in their group, 2-0.
Yes. I'm so excited. For those of you who haven't seen much TVT in Heart of the Swarm, a lot of it is revolving right now around early Reaper play, and we may see the elusive 8-8.
8-8-8. Is it 8 times better than a 1-1-1? Or is it something else entirely? Of course it is.
Sure, whatever.
No,
anyway.
But of course, 8 supply depot, 8 barracks, 8 gas.
Yep.
For those Reapers out.
Proxied basically right outside your opponent's base so you can get those Reapers out very, very quickly.
Any maps on which it is like really good, or isn't it really map dependent?
It's mostly a two-player map build because it's very heavily dependent. Basically what happens is you always, if your opponent opens gas first, the game can just end because of how quickly you get the Reapers out. They don't have a lot of units. If your opponent opens barracks, you want to always attack them when you have the same number of Reapers that they have Marines. And so if it's a 4-player map or a map with 2 possible spawn locations, you may not be able to put your barracks close enough so that that is possible.
Right.
A map like Cloud Kingdom is really good. Antigua, very strong. You want to put the barracks somewhere where the Reapers that can come out can very quickly enter the main, but it's not an easily scouted location.
Okay.
Usually when you do Proxy Marauder, the barracks has to be very close to the entrance to their base, because Marauder's a ground unit. Reapers are a Colossus unit. So it can be close to the entrance of their base or close to the cliff.
Sure. No, we completely understand. Are we likely to see that kind of play come out more from one of these players? And by that I mean we've seen MVP play so far in this tournament. We've had a taste of what he has to offer now. Turns out his play is actually really good. His multitasking's fantastic. Dream, though, as well, you've had a chance to go in and take a look at some of his replays, I believe. So is there any particular player that you're favoring to be more aggressive in this matchup here?
I think of these two players, Dream is the more likely to do some kind of proxy play. But a good TVT player knows no bounds. I would expect either player to be more than capable of executing one of these builds to great power. I don't know.
Power.
Yeah.
To
sure.
great
power.
To great power.
Sure. Whatever. We'll go with that.
He's 16.
Yes.
Dream's pretty young, man.
Man, you gotta stop that.
And there he is putting on his, I believe, noise-suppressing headset there. MVP, as always. I swear he has the same facial expression. Win, lose, sort of relaxing, 500 APM. It's all just like, he gives nothing away, man.
One thing that's really interesting about TVT right now as well is Bio and Mech are both very, very viable compositions. Medevacs got stronger.
Yeah.
Introduction of Hellbats and also Widowmines made Mech stronger, so it's very interesting to see how they play against each other.
Well, let's see what kind of strategies these guys choose to employ against each other here. We're going to be throwing it over to our commentators for game number 1. MVP versus Dream, ladies and gentlemen. Over to Kalaris and Todd.
Thanks very much, guys. Welcome back to the caster's desk here as Todd joins me for TVT. Akilon Wastes will be our map of choice for game number 1.
Yeah, and I think QXC just covered every single possible strategy that could happen.
It's all done. We don't need to talk for the next 20 minutes. It's all good.
And both of these players, as we mentioned, I think are already doing very well.
Yeah.
They are both at 2-0, and after this match, they're going to have more matches to play, but the winner of this match is pretty sure of making it through. Is going to have a very good chance at taking the first place, which you really want to be able to secure in this group.
Yeah, that's very true. And spawning up to our top left-hand corner here as our blue Terran. Ladies and gentlemen, he goes by the name of MVP Dream. And spawning down to our bottom right as our red Terran. A lot of people familiar with this man. He goes by the name of LGIM's MVP.
And I think Dream, every time I see him play, I'm thinking, well, this guy, he keeps on getting better. Remember in Katowice, he had some very impressive PVT. So far in this group, he's beaten 2 very good Zergs. So apparently his TVP and TVZ are very good. But now it is a mirror match. How good is he really in a mirror match?
It remains to be seen here in Heart of the Swarm, as I can't help but feel that, you know, Dream, he's one of the people that I pegged early on to, you know, do very, very well. Admittedly, he'd already done well at Katowice anyway, so it's not the biggest and boldest of predictions, but Dream certainly can pull out the games. But after seeing the control that MVP had over his TVP and the way he was using those medevacs, it's a very, very scary prospect to go up against.
And Dream is going to open standard with a gas very early on, but MVP really waited before throwing down this first refinery, so we might see a quick command center after this refinery, maybe into some kind of factory and tech play out of him.
Dream, meanwhile, already had that gas guys going for a long time. So, you know, for him, it's probably going to be that Reaper. And there we go, on the way. Interesting thing about the Reaper in TVT is that, you know, they don't really do enough damage to do proper SCV harassment. You can just, like, repair through the damage quite easily. But still, it does hinder that mining just a little bit. You have to pull them off, and, you know, they're losing mining time. So it is still a little bit annoying.
And on this map, there is really only one place through which a Reaper can enter your main base, which is going to be between that main and that third base. You can see some Terran sometimes try to go behind the middle line at the expansion and get in there, but this is going to be easier to scout, especially if you put some buildings around here. So the Reaper has been scouted. I'm sure MVP will be ready to deal with it. And he's made only 2 Marines. He's going for a reactor behind this. And Dream is going to start his own command center.
Not too bad an option at all here for Dream, as he just uses that one Reaper to gain himself a little bit of map control, denying any kind of crazy scouting of his natural himself. As for now, will poke on ahead. Sees no natural, wants to have a jump on in, maybe to have a little bit of a look around, but the 2 Marines fending that off quite nicely. He's going to regain some health and then maybe try to jump in again, seeing what tech choice is the case.
And Dream is going for a second gas, I think. We might see some starports and maybe some gas-heavy play build. Oh, the Reaper is trying to get a SCV here. A nice micro by MVP. He's going to try to get a surround on the Reaper.
Oh, that's actually a really, really good position there for him. Really shutting down that Reaper very hard with those SCVs. Good control, but second Reaper is now on the way here. Looking to do some damage, just trying to wiggle towards that SCV, but the Marine's going to fend him off quite easily.
And yeah, Marines actually do a lot of damage to that Reaper. He has to be very careful. He's going to pull back on time now. I still think he could have gotten the SCV and get out of here, but he's not going to risk it. He wants to regenerate his hit points. And Dream, he's throwing down starport immediately. Do you think we're going to see a Banshee here?
I mean, there is the possibility, but at the same time, you know, he hasn't started any Hellions either. So we'll see what he wants to go for. Oh, there we go. There's the Hellions on the way. So he may even just go for a medevac, try and go for a little bit of drop play as well. There's a lot of options open to Dream right now, but MVP is defending his parameter really, really nicely.
Yeah, so far he's been doing well, but Dream, he's made his command center immediately on his expansion. As soon as he starts basically saturating his bases very well, sending in some mules, he's going to have a better income than MVP for some time. Oh, and actually, the watchtower expired. I didn't even know that was present on this map.
Well, yeah, apparently it is. And
is it at 6 minutes?
6 minutes? Yeah, I think so. And for now, I mean, it looks like both players are going for an extremely, extremely similar build here with the medevacs and Hellions to boot. So, you know, you can drop the Hellions. You can even drop a few Marines in the back whilst poking at the front with the Hellions. There's a lot of options available to you here, whilst Dream seemingly is committing to more of a bio focus here already.
Yeah, he's already started Steam Pack. MVP hasn't. MVP he could still do. Yeah, if he wants, he can go for mech. He's getting a tech lab on his barracks, but is it to get steam pack or is it to swap it for a starport? We're gonna have to see. We have a medivac on its way to MVP's base right now. It's filled with 4 Hellions.
Wow, these players are almost dead even. Both supply blocks at 54 here, as he does recuperate from that. But for now, Dream does have a little bit of a supply lead in the form of the SCVs at least. And he looks like he's going to be able to get this drop going undeterred, whilst MVP is looking to find a hole in his opponent's base, but I think he's going to be able to as he starts roasting up SCVs. A good job here. The Widow Mine should be able to burrow, lures those Hellions in, should be an all right position for him. And
that was so smart.
Oh my god, meanwhile actually MVP just going to drop as well here, running in with those Hellions, and oh my good god, I did not expect that, nor did Dream. He didn't expect the double Widow Mine to be there. One of them will connect with some Marines here from MVP, but at the same time, the Hellions not done just yet.
And in the meantime, MVP, he has started Cloak, he has started the Banshee, but he saw the turret now and he immediately canceled Cloak. He's going to try to do more damage with those Hellions, but Dream should be able to repel this attack after suffering losses.
Wow, this is already crazy. He has 28 workers to 28 workers. Widow Mines out for both players here, whilst we see Dream going for another command center, and MVP's adding on the Raven, even still killing more SCVs. 11 killed off to 15 in favor of MVP right now. And things are gonna calm down for just a second.
Yeah, MVP is actually going to go for Raven behind this. Both players have stabilized, they held each other's attack. I believe the economy of both of them is very equal right now. We have 29 SCVs to 31. MVP having 2 more SCVs right now. And he's going to throw down a couple barracks. Oh, actually factories here. So MVP wants to play that mech style. And I like this on this map because you're going to be able to take a third. If you go for a sensor tower, you can see basically your entire side of the map. You're going to be able to defend very easily against pretty much anything. It's one of the easier maps where you're going to be able to turtle and play this mech heavy style. And
with that, you can easily burrow just a few Widow Mines around the parameters of your bases, really deny those medevac drops that Dream is going to try and exploit here with the bio style. That's what he's trying to do, trying to be more mobile than MVP with this choice. But I don't know whether, I don't think it works here if MVP prepares well enough with Widow Mines.
And MVP gets in there with a Banshee. He dodges the turret very nicely here. He's going to be able to kill a couple of SCVs, and that was really well done. He knew the Banshee could not escape, could not get out of here, so he gets as many kills as he can before finally having that Banshee die.
Hellions just darting around here and there whilst, well, actually MVP leaves his base during all of this, so this harassment could be quite successful. No Widow Mines at that natural to be able to deny this, so this should be dropped on in there. And actually MVP getting Blue Flame as well. There's a lot of tanks.
And those players are just going to harass each other for now. Dream dropping 4 Hellions right now in the MVP's SCVs. MVP is going to pull some of those out, but he's already lost a couple, and nice pickup here by Dream.
Yeah, really nothing to be able to deny that medevac at this point. I still really want the Widow Mines to come out here so MVP doesn't incur those kinds of losses. He has access to them, as does Dream, but he is going for that more bio style. 41 workers to 41 workers here. MVP looking to find a spot to actually push on in.
And all they do is kill each other's workers so far. They have not been committing to any real attack where they try to kill their opponent's army. They want to fry SCVs, and they want to weaken the opponent's economy enough so that they will have a clear advantage. And we have Dream playing bio. Man, I love watching mech versus bio.
God, dude, I love watching Widow Mines sometimes when it comes to them getting really good connections. It's like burrowed banelings all over the place, and it's just crazy to see them get the really, really nice connections that they do. But for now, Dream moving out here, he has to somehow exploit the mobility that he has, make it work for him. And if he doesn't, MVP is going to really, really roll out here with a very, very strong force.
And MVP, he has a slight supply lead here, but he cannot move out just now. He has to wait a bit more. He has to get some upgrades. He has to get that critical mass with which he will be able to deal with the bio force of his opponent. But mech can be really hard to play against bio, especially because of those medivac drops. You need sensor towers. You really need to always be in a good position. But with the medivac boost, it's going to be even harder. Imagine, even if he goes for turrets, and there is 5 medivacs flying by with that boost, Dream might be able to get a big drop in the main. So for now, nobody's really committing to anything, but soon we might see something like that happen.
Yeah, I actually think you're right with that. That is where the strength of Dream will lie later on if this game keeps going longer, like big drops that we've actually seen Dream go for quite a few times at the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. So it's certainly not out the realms of possibility here, whilst MVP just keeps himself stable for now, and Dream's, well, looking to move out a little bit.
Hey, it looks like he wants to set up a contain in front of the base of MVP, but does he really? Yes, Siege, obviously, because you do not need to research it anymore, but it feels like a bit of a commitment. I mean, at this point, if I was Dream, I would be trying to drop, not to commit. Oh, he's going to drop a couple more Hellions, but MVP is ready this time.
Yeah, those Hellions should be able to roast and toast those up quite quickly, and indeed they do go down. Dream only has 15 worker kills thus far to the 20 of MVP right now, and he's sitting outside his opponent's base, not really doing too much at this point, macroing up back at home, but he is certainly denying his opponent from, you know, darting around with Hellions if he wants to go for a little bit of harassment, and in turn, those Hellions can get scouting information.
Oh, and I love this move. I think at 6 o'clock, MVP has a couple of Vikings, and he's hoping for a big drop here, in which case he will be able to kill a lot of Medivacs. If Dream goes for that, it will be really bad for him, obviously. Dream right now, he's macroing very well. He's going for 2-2 upgrades on his bio. He's going to get the vehicle attack upgrades for his tanks. And yeah, both of these players, they are so evenly matched right now that their supplies very similar.
And this just reaffirms what we were saying about that's where Dream's strengths will lie. MVP realizes that as well. So positioning those Vikings down to the south is such a good, strong maneuver here, especially since he doesn't have much vision of the map right now. He can't be certain where his opponent is just yet, although when he claims that watchtower he now is. But other than that, he didn't know. So really taking good precautionary measures here, but Dream is, wow, macroing very, very strongly behind this.
And MVP as well, he has a nice army, but what he's really lacking right now is upgrades. He's only about to get +1 for his tanks. He's finally going to add a couple Hellbats to his army in a bit. But yeah, I mean, against Bio 2-2, if you just have tanks with +1, it's not all that great. So he's going to have to turtle more weight until those upgrades kick in, and later on, I think we will see him moving out and try something here.
And another interesting aspect about MVP actually placing his Vikings all the way down there is that if Dream, say, sees his opponent's force, he's not going to see any Vikings with it, so he's adding on Vikings himself right now, and there might be the disillusion that he has air dominance, but realistically, MVP is saving 7 Vikings down there, whilst his Dream only has 1 right now, so that's kind of scary.
Yeah, indeed it is. And Dream is moving in a position where it really looks like he wants to attack, but I mean, with all those tanks there, there is really no way. There is only actually 1 tank at the third base. MVP is going to have to be careful. He's going to have to reposition. That's exactly what he's doing right now.
And Hellbats are not finished just yet either, so these Hellions aren't going to tank as much damage as he would like them to. He's dropping a few units here, trying to do some damage to these siege tanks, but that gets cleaned up super quickly. And for now, well, he's going to go and try for the drop, but hey, hello Vikings. Very, very nice indeed.
And this poor Mulder, man, he was unloaded right on top of 200 supply.
Poor guy. He's like, please don't drop me, please don't drop me, please. Oh, well, there you go. So for now, 3 command centers behind this going down for Dream. The air dominance of MVP does shark on in there to have a little bit of luck, see what his opponent has, but doesn't really want to be taking those engagements just yet.
Yeah, Dream, he has started 3-3. MVP being only 1-0, he has to do something here. Add on an extra armory and start upgrading more. Why is he not starting +2? If Dream can reach 3-3 before MVP get any more upgrades, even, I guess, against siege tanks, you cannot really fight, but MVP is going to be locked down to 4 bases and not really be able to do anything. Oh, a big engagement, Kedaris.
Actually, yeah, just stimming up there, trying to take the engagement, but even out of siege mode, those siege tanks are so numerous and doing a lot of damage as well. Hellbats moving on into the fray at the very front here, tanking a lot of damage as well as killing off those Marines very quickly, as well as the Vikings in the air, taking out the Medivacs, really limiting the longevity of Dream's army here. But for now, it's going to be a standoff just a little bit. The siege tanks only remain, and they're going to be just chilling out for now.
And I think MVP definitely got the better end of this. He killed all of the bio of his opponent. He got all of the medivacs because of those hidden Vikings earlier. And Dream is going to be left with a couple tanks. He's going to restart making a lot of bio. And actually, MVP is adding a couple of star force behind this.
Oh, and a fusion core. Fusion core. MVP up to his old tricks here. As for now going up against Dream. Well, Dream, he's in bio right now. He's going up to 3-3. He doesn't really have the star pots to support any kind of reaction to that. But he's actually, well, MVP needs to be more careful of positioning his SCVs in the gas there.
Dream is already on 4 bases. He knows that MVP is locked on 4 bases as well. If Dream wants, with the income he has, he can add extra bases more at the 12 o'clock position. Look, he's taking a base near his main, and that's definitely going to help. The more bases you can get, the more you can saturate them. I think he's even got extra command centers already, so he's going to be able to spam mules even more than his opponent. But you know, MVP, he hasn't lost many units, so he hasn't had to replace as much as Dream. And because of that, he's already getting a little bit of a bank. You see?
But Dream also here, well, he's going to send in a little bit of a medevac drop to kill off some siege tanks. Gets 1, gets 2, gets 3, gets 4 for 4 Marauders. That's a great trade there by Dream.
And you know, MVP, he could not unsiege here because he would be at the risk that to be engaged by the entire bioforce of his opponent. So he just left it there and lost a couple tanks, but he's going to be okay for now. He's stabilized with all these tanks. Now he has the turrets. And that's what I was talking about. On this map, if you go for mech, how can your opponent attack you?
Those turrets are so important because if for one reason or another Dream decided to just say, I want 1 or 2 Banshees and start poking around there, if he gets Cloak, he'd have to expend scans for the Vikings to actually deal with them, but that's a really, really great move here. He actually drops in this 4th base, really shutting down a lot of the mining operations there, but MVP going for a little bit of a movement himself here with the Hellions down to his opponent's 4th, pseudo 4th, 5th, kind of whatever, but ultimately he's doing damage, but Dream still doesn't know about these battle cruisers on the way.
Yeah, he does not know about them. In small numbers, they're not going to be that important, but as soon as MVP can get around 6 and more, this is going to do a lot of damage. We see Dream's army. I mean, this is not an army you want to take on battle cruisers with. He's got Marauders, tanks, just a couple of Marines.
Oh, those Vikings, they want to lift back up there. They didn't realize that that entire army was swinging on in to kill them off, but there you go. Behemoth Reactor going to finish up in just a little bit for these battle cruisers, but he's limiting MVP's income so well. You pointed this out very astutely before, and it's a real hindrance here for MVP.
And I thought he had a couple battle cruisers out already. Oh yeah, here they are. And he might go and clean up the tanks of Dream with this, forcing Dream to pull back, in which case MVP would stabilize again on 4 bases. He could take a 5th, and from there, I mean, he's going to be upgrading a lot. He's getting, let's say, tier 3 units against just the basic army of Dream. Dream is going to have to switch into Viking heavy behind this if he wants to deal with those battle cruisers appropriately.
One of the Marauders flew off the cliff there. That was fantastic. But this is a weird situation that MVP was in. Ideally, going for battle cruisers, he would have wanted to save up more numbers of them. But because his 4th base was pushed away, he had to use those battle cruisers, well, at least reveal them there. Although he might actually now switch back out of them and force his opponent to make a lot of Vikings. I'm not quite sure how he's going to play this out right now.
And MVP is going to try to get rid of a couple of those tanks. Nice Yamato cannon on one of them. And MVP tries to be everywhere. He tries to go for a run by in the 3rd or 4th base. I guess you can say 4th base of MVP, but MVP, he has enough tanks there to be able to defend against any amount of units.
Looking to find a good spot indeed through the middle of the map. Those Hellions going to roast up a ton of SCVs as well, whilst Dream is looking to just go for the aggression himself here. So both players are passing each other, one another in the middle of the map. This is going to just end up being a full-blown base trade.
And I think, yeah, that was so smart by Dream. He scanned again the 4th base of MVP. He saw there was no tank, so he moved in there. But yeah, we have a battle cruiser actually doing a one-on-one with the Thor. I think the battle cruiser should get the better end of it. Both players right now trying to remake army, trying to hold the attack of the opponents, but MVP just has so much, man.
Well, the scary thing is his battle cruiser actually can't be killed by anything here. There's 6 Marines on the map right now, so that one battle cruiser is eventually going to clean up everything over that side of the map, whilst MVP is still doing so much damage to his opponent's base. And those siege tanks, they're not going to get shut down anytime soon. I actually think it would be quite wise for Dream here to maybe make a few Banshees and Vikings to try and combat MVP.
Yeah, but I don't think he has any tech lab starports. That's the problem. So he can only go for ground or Vikings, and because of that, I mean, you have 15 tanks at the exit of your base. You go for ground, you're in bad shape. So right now, MVP very heavy lead. He's almost 100 supply ahead, and I think he might have done it here with some very smart play, some good defense of everything that Dream has been throwing at him. MVP has pulled far ahead enough with great decision making to be most likely able to secure his first game here.
Yeah, some very interestingly timed battle cruisers here in game number 1, and with this, MVP has grabbed himself a phenomenal lead with this battalion that now marches through the middle of the map, and Dream can do very little about it. Mule, mule, mule. Well, yeah, he's going to be able to save it.
He's going to repair it on time, but I mean, 90 supply to 178. There is battle cruisers against you. I think they're even upgrading 1-1, so
yep,
that's pretty decent. Yeah, they're 1-1.
Good God, 6 battle cruisers. against 8 Marines and 10 Vikings. 10 Vikings, pretty damn useful, gotta say, but whether or not you can actually micro against that, I don't know. But Dream now still pushing in. This is going to be his last engagement here. Yamato Cannon rains down on those Vikings, just making sure that anti-air is gone. 100 supply up here. GG for game number 1.
And MVP makes it look easy.
Yeah. I mean, he's MVP, man. That's what he kind of does. All right, guys. So that is going to wrap it up for our first TVT of the day. But I'm sure Mr. QXE has a lot to say about that, alongside Harston and Jorisar.
That's right, guys. A pretty entertaining TVT there. And I guess we should probably start at the beginning of the game. There is a lot to talk about. We saw sort of round about the 7-8 minute mark of the game, both players being very aggressive and transitioning into medevac drops against each other, and it got awfully scrappy for just a bit.
Yep. What was interesting there was Dream chose to open 2 Reapers into that reactor and then factory, whereas MVP went straight for Marines. So you end up in a position where they're at very similar economies, very similar unit counts, except MVP has 6 Marines to what Dream's 2 Reapers. One of the Reapers dies. So one Reaper against 6 Marines, which gives MVP a much stronger, persistent attack. He can lift up and move those Marines into Dream's main, whereas Dream's attack is basically just 4 Hellions.
Yes.
That led to a pretty interesting situation, like you were saying, where MVP basically had nothing at home to defend because he committed everything to that aggression. And then the lucky Widow Mine.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm definitely going to call
the
it.
YOLO Widow Mine.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We were talking about it during the game. The Widow Mine, of course, took out all 4 Hellions in the drop, but it was correctly pointed out that there was no reason for Dream to pick up there. He could have just moved his Hellions and the medevac out of the base, and yeah, maybe the medevac would have still been lost, but the Hellions would have been there, and he could have moved them into the natural at that point.
Yeah, I think Dream anticipated MVP having more units, and so he's like, oh, Widow Mine, like, all right, I'm taking some damage, I'm going to back out before I lose my medevac to a Viking or something. And when really, he could have just ran all of his Hellions into the natural. Maybe like lose 2 to Widow Mines, but it would still
Kill
have
a
been,
ton of workers.
Yeah, Hellions against SCVs, which is not a battle you would really like.
Harston, you then mentioned a little bit later on in the game, we were talking about the timing for upgrades for both players and the transitions that they were both making, and you were talking about both the upgrades and the transition to Sky Terran for MVP.
Yeah, I felt like MVP's upgrades were really late. He only had 1 armory as well, so he only went for the attack upgrade. I think the moment his 1-0 finished, Dream finished 2-2.
Yeah.
So that was very good. And if you want to transition into Sky Terran, you kind of need the armor upgrade, because the armor upgrade for the tanks and the Thors also applies to battle cruisers and Vikings.
Yeah, in Heart of the Swarm, that's changed now. So that double armory would have come in very useful for MVP.
Yeah, that was one thing that seemed really, really curious, really, really weird from MVP. The Sky transition is so much stronger when your battle cruisers come out into the game with already +2 armor or +3 armor.
And then, of course, we got to a really interesting position late on in the game, pretty much that led to the game finishing, where both players went into a very strange base tradey kind of position. We're going to jump into the replay, actually, at this point, around about the 24-minute, 45-second mark, where we're going to take a look at MVP and Dream and what the start of that final engagement meant to both of these players.
So real quick, we're going to take a look at just MVP's vision, what he can see here. So we have the Hellions in the 4th. This is a really good way to start a base trade. You're already eliminating a large part of your opponent's economy. A big part of winning a base trade is having resources banked. So starting it with this huge Hellion run by is really key for MVP. He has vision of this large group of units, and these units are so out of position, they're not close enough to really threaten a direct run by. And it's a significant enough a group of units that MVP feels comfortable taking his whole army and pushing, because he knows there's so little back at home. And then we see the push across the map here. I really would have liked to have seen Dream actually defend this or engage it from multiple angles. Notice how MVP's army is so strung out. A flank here, and also a flank above here. Hitting it from the back even would have been great. Would have been just fantastic for MVP. And one of the main strengths of mech is its sieging potential, its ability to hold a position. The main weakness is its mobility. Siege tanks cannot move. They have a hard time getting across the map. This is one of the worst things that you can ever let your opponent do when he's meching, is siege up at your natural. The amount of resources, the amount of things that you have to commit to break this is so much larger than the amount of resources that MVP uses to set it up. And this was really the critical error of Dream, was allowing his opponent to just walk across the map.
And in addition to that as well, of course, the icing on the cake is that back at home in the main base, the battle cruisers really didn't have much of an answer there. I mean, there were Marauders and Siege Tanks, and MVP was defending, okay, with a couple of battle cruisers. It was going to take them a while to wipe everything off, but there was nothing attacking them.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Once MVP started that battle cruiser transition, Dream really needed to contain him and take additional bases and go into a very heavy anti-battle cruiser response. If when that base trade started, Dream was already on triple starport with Reactor, all of a sudden those battle cruisers have a very reasonable, responsible answer.
No, I completely agree. And that the base trade obviously worked so well in MVP's favor there. Does that mean that when it actually started, did Dream have a very specific point in time where he could actually fall back and say, well, I'm going to try and engage this? Was that his only hope, or was there something else he might have been able to do earlier?
If he had been a little more aware of MVP's transition and added those starports earlier, when that base trade happened, he could have had the Vikings already, or at least been transitioning into them a bit earlier, but you really just needed to pull back, consolidate, and not allow that march across the map. Or because he just did not have the units to win the eventual battle or to continue to punish his opponent for leaving his base open because he had no response to those battle cruisers.
Makes perfect sense. Thank you very much for that, guys. And that was a very exciting conclusion to game number 1. We're going to go into game number 2 in just a moment. Back over to your commentators. We have Kalaris and Todd.
Thanks very much, guys. MVP on the road to victory. It seems he's doing pretty well for himself, but Dream, I personally hope he upsets. I would really, really like to see that happen. Dream, he's a young upcomer. He's only 16 years old and was yet able to perform so well at his very first Intel Extreme Masters event in Katowice.
He's up against the Master, so last game was like an agreement. They agreed to let the mechanics speak, and in the end they spoke, and I think we all know what they said.
Yeah, they're like, get out Dream. So guys, spawning down in the bottom left-hand corner here as our blue Terran once again. He goes by the name of MVP Dream. And spawning up to the top right-hand corner as our red Protoss, Terran even, my apologies. He goes by the name of LGIM's MVP.
And Entomb Valley, I did not hear any particular prediction from QXC, but I don't think we're going to see the infamous 888 as much as I would like to. And as I said, in the first game, they played pretty much standard. They tried to harass, they tried to weaken the opponent's economy without ever committing too much for as long as possible. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a very similar game on Entomb Valley, because both of those players, they actually have a very similar style. I mean, they have very good mechanics. They're always going to try to outplay their opponent as much as possible in a long game where you can take a lot of decisions and even come back if you're behind. And Dream is going for a very similar build as he did in the previous game. I mean, he goes for the barracks, and right after he starts a refinery. MVP, he started his just a little bit later than Dream. So I think it's actually earlier than in the previous game, but it shouldn't matter all that much. MVP might actually go for a Reaper himself this game.
Yeah, very, very likely here. It's just a nice opener. It just really gives you good intel on what your opponent is doing, as well as the potential of picking off 1 or 2 SCVs and then still posing a little bit of a threat, as you can come back if you get a little bit of damage dealt to you and then jump right back on into the fray. So I really do like this opening from Terras. It gives them a lot of good information.
And we have Dream going for the Reaper for the moment. Okay, MVP is going to start his own behind this. Both players are going for depot. I like the placement of the depot by Dream. He might be able to spot something going into his base later on with this one. Remember the pylon by Mana here.
Yes. Very, very nice little position there to exploit or utilize yourself. As for now, second gas is actually going down here for MVP, and Dream sees that instantaneously. So a good scout here from him, as the Reapers are now on the way.
And Dream is just going to fly past this SCV of MVP. He's going to ignore it, but behind this, he has already queued a second Reaper. He's not going to cancel it upon seeing 2 refineries by MVP. What is his plan here? He can choose from many things. And it looks like he wants to go for a command center behind this.
Yeah, well, and MVP sees that instantly here from Dream, whilst Dream back home is, well, MVP, sorry, excuse me, is going for the factory himself, so looking to put on a bit of aggression here as he just continues Reaper production. Factory Reapers into factory, and the potential for the, you know, Widow Mines and then Hellions from that point on is a really, really potent combination like we've seen in day 1 and day 2. So will it be utilized here by MVP?
And you know, this is so interesting. Both of them, they keep on making Reapers. It's what happened. Dream, he flew immediately to MVP's base with his first Reaper because he knew that he had a second one on the way and he could defend against the one Reaper of MVP if it came into his base. And both of them, they are afraid to quit Reapers right now. We're going to have a small engagement here. Oh, nice micro. It's like a perfect mirror.
Synchronized swimmers there. MVP and Dream, but I'm doing a pretty darn good job of saving their Reapers for now. But this is the thing. If you actually start making Reapers and your opponent starts making Reapers as well and you scout that out,
yeah, the first one who quits, if you hit the timing where you have just one extra Reaper, you might be able to kill all of his.
Yeah. So scary thought here as Dream now throws down his bunker, and we actually have Hellions on the way for MVP, whilst he actually goes for Starport, so maybe trying to negate his opponent's front defenses once again with that Hellion drop.
Yeah, can you imagine the mobility? Reapers on the ground that can jump over cliff, and Medivac that can drop Hellions. He's going to do, I think, a two-pronged attack in the main and natural, most likely a drop of Hellions in the main. Reapers in the expansion, and Dream, he already has his expansion. He needs to get a lot of units out. He has a bunker at the front of his wall, but that's not going to help at all.
Yeah, 3 Ps there, the infamous 3P as opposed to double P for now. Dream's going to be disqualified. No, this is not Pro League, but indeed we do have these guys pretty much stabilizing here. Behind what they're doing. But MVP is going to be the aggressor, obviously. He is going to be the one that's putting on the pressure, whilst he's actually expanding behind this as well. And now we're back on in here. As for now, we'll see if these Reapers are going to really get anything done with those Hellions that get dropped.
Oh, a nice scan. He's going to be able to see exactly what's headed his way. MVP has a choice, Dream has a choice to make. He can choose how he will try to defend against. He's anticipating the drop in his main. He's going to make a depot next to his orbital command in his main, but I don't think that's going to help all that much. A good thing to do here would be to transfer everything to his main and have his army stay there. That's how Protoss deals with this kind of drops usually. But for now, Dream is just leaving his units at his expansion. Yeah,
I think Dream knows the exact extent to what's going on behind this. He saw, you know, guys in that second gas geyser, so he must be assuming that behind that, despite not seeing a natural, that it is there. And from that point on, can assume that his opponent's army is going to be a bit more mineral heavy, which will be these Hellions. But he's not really anticipating the direction which they're coming from.
Oh, actually, yeah, he's leaving 2 Hellions in his base. Yeah. He's going to rally 2 new ones, and he's just left the 2 Reapers and 1 Marine in the expansion. He's left only 1 Marine in the bunker. Hellions are going to be dropped now, but Dream's units are in position.
Yep. And MVP, whilst drawing his opponent away, is going to dive on in with his Reapers. 4 hit Reapers for himself against the 2, so he's going to take this engagement for now, but the Hellions come along, and unfortunately Reapers not as good as against Hellions as they used to be.
And MVP is killing what he can. He's going to get out of here behind this. He has gone for 2 command centers, so he's going to go for the triple orbital. He's adding on a tech lab on his starports, and he's adding on a second factory, so we might see some Banshee plus mech play again here.
Yeah, could be very, very important here, as Dream needs to be able to scout out his opponent's check choices. And for now, Dream, well, he fends that off quite nicely. Didn't really lose too much in the grand scheme of things. 4 workers dead in total, so Dream for now, he'll stabilize on his, what seems like, another bio choice.
Yeah, and he's going for the 3rd command center himself, but I mean, MVP, his 3rd command center just finished. He's going to make that an orbital. He's finally going to pull a little bit ahead on supply thanks to those mules. On SCV count, he's only on 31 against the 39 of Dream, so right now he's behind economically, but with that 3rd orbital, he should catch up very quickly.
Yeah.
And Dream, he has 2 Reapers. He's going to do the same thing as MVP did. He's going to drop Hellions in the main and send Reapers in the natural. And this time it's going to be MVP on the defensive side of things.
Yep. And 4 Hellions, able to roast up a lot of probes. 3 is the magic number for the 1 volley actual KO, but ooh, dear me. Well, a few of them do line up, but there's so many Hellions there for MVP to deal with that. Meanwhile, the Reapers on their way in. And, well, the Reapers on the way in for MVP as well, but I don't think they're going to be able to do a whole lot, depending on actually how many units are in the main. And they're getting it cleaned up easy.
And MVP actually going for his trademark Raven here. He's made one of those. Oh, he has to be careful.
Very much so. Those Hellions still looking for blood somewhere, but the SCV's kept alive and good to go. A few more barracks on the way for Dream behind all of this, and well, he's going to drop again. I think he's just sacrificing units here at this point, but it's a little bit odd.
Oh yeah, he's really committing. Oh, dropping the Reapers actually in the medevac.
Well,
they're
MVP,
faster except when boosted, I guess.
Yeah, he's keeping good chops on that medevac, so really keeping it locked down. As for now, MVP still adds on Viking of his own here, trying to transition on quite nicely from. Well, there's a lot of Hellions. I wonder if he could actually dart on in there and really put on some aggression. 12 Hellions right now.
Oh yeah, maybe he could, but he's not sure. It's pretty risky. I mean, Dream right now is pumping out units at a very quick rate with all the barracks he's got. He's going to start upgrading two, I guess, very soon. He has an armory halfway through down. He's going for a second factory, so he's not going to pump out tanks out of just one factory, but two this game.
That's so cute. Even the auto turret has to go down to try and fend these guys away from that siege tank, but the Reaper will end up being obliterated as the second one dies off as well. For now, medevac on the way out. Ignite should be afterburners there, saving that medevac in just a second.
Between those Reapers and medevacs, I think IDBC is getting a headache right now.
Maybe. This medevac's not going to get away. Oh, it just had the afterburners as that Viking caught up to it. Technically, it is a little bit quicker, but in the end, it would have been able to get away quite easily with the afterburner. So.
And Dream's so smart. He's transferred SCVs to his third. He knew there might be some Hellions just right outside of his base, so he went with his army to escort those SCVs so that they would be able to get into his third base very easily. He's going to wall off at his third, also very smart, and he wants to push forward right now. Yep. And we have only one tank for MVP.
Both players, time and time again, keep getting a little bit supply blocked here and there, so they could be a little bit higher as Dream for now escapes from that supply block with a ton of supply depots actually raining down there. MVP, meanwhile, lacking a little bit behind with this, but he is going to go for another drop. And there is a missile turret there to defend, but not much else.
And Medivac is going to drop in the natural of Dream. Again, filled with forward. Oh, he's flying into a turret.
Is that going to... No. Okay, so he at least unloads 3 of the Hellions. That's going to be enough to actually roast up some of these SCVs. And meanwhile, more Hellions moving down to the south whilst Dream pursues those. But still, he only got like 2 or 3 workers during that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got one more. So
in the meantime, MVP, he was trying to go for a run-by with his Hellions. They got caught by the main army of Dream. What was left of them just got killed by the reinforcements. And MVP, I mean, he's lost a lot of units here. He's going to pull behind on supply, and we're about to have an engagement kill Iris.
Yeah, Dream playing very well here, even dropping a lot of his units across those siege tanks, really limiting how much DPS that MVP has behind his entire army here, and all the siege tanks actually go down. Auto turrets being forced to throw down as well. He has hardly any units left. He's forced to pull all the SCVs off. The bunker is sacrificed as well, and Dream doing a phenomenal job in game number 2.
And you know, MVP is only on 3 factories, so his units are going to come out very slowly. Even though he has the reactor on the one factory, he's making units 4x4 basically, whereas Dream, he has a lot of barracks, he has 2 factories, he's remaking army much quicker right now, and he's connecting pressure on until it works, and he wins, and that's what happens.
And GG, game number 2 goes to Dream as he ties things up against, as you said, the Master. But Dream looking very good there with his bio play. But for now, we shall send it over to our analysis desk with QXE, Harston, and Jorasa.
All right, guys, Dream leveling it up 1-all there against MVP, taking this best-of-3 series to its deciding game. And I have to say, we had a little bit of a crazy opening there. Reaper versus Reaper. Things got a little bit hectic in the opening minutes of that game.
Yep. Both players doing a pretty good job of controlling the Reapers. Dream getting they both had almost full information about what their opponents were doing. Dream scouted the second gas, and MVP scouted the expansion. And so basically it was a kind of like a Reaper expand against a Reaper tech build. Go ahead.
No, I was actually going to ask Harston, you were mentioning during the game there that like trying to work out what the macro situation is going to be like from the Reaper expand versus the Reaper tech. Did you have any insights as to, like, obviously from a non-Terran point of view, what the game looked like at that point?
Well, I felt like MVP needed to do some damage with his Hellions and his Reapers, otherwise he was going to fall behind because his command center was later.
Sure.
Yep. And we can go into the replay right now here and take a look at that. So take a look real quick at the game state here. So natural command center just about to finish. Third command center about halfway, third of the way done. And we do see, yeah, Dream is ahead about 5 SCVs. So in order to make this pressure work, in order to make it cost efficient, MVP's got to kill at least around 4 or 5 SCVs, because even though this natural is about to finish, it still takes 35 seconds to make it into an orbital.
Sure.
And that's time where that command center is not building SCVs. So if we take a look at the pressure here, the Reapers in the natural doing a fair amount of damage. Meanwhile, there's the drop that kind of goes into the back of Dream's main, but Dream simply has too many units here. The reason this harass doesn't really work is Dream has enough units to leave at one location, enough units to leave at the other vulnerable location, the main and the natural, and still be able to defend this pressure actually quite easily.
No, I think it makes a lot of sense here. And if we take a look, as we can see, the number of workers killed total just isn't really stacking up to MVP's aspirations of how much damage he actually wanted to get done there. And of course, later on in the game as well, towards the end, as Dream was pushing towards MVP, his last-ditch drop at the end first ran it into a turret, and then there were a couple of siege tanks there. So again, not able to get damage done that he wanted to do with those drops.
I definitely feel like MVP started that game on its back foot. From the moment he attempted to do the Reaper into the natural and the Hellions into the main, and then the several minutes after that, he was just too far behind economically to really make something happen in the mid game.
Yeah, it basically just snowballed into the favor of Dream, it felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely. So we've seen 2 games now, I think it's reasonable to say 2 reasonably different styles there from MVP. What is he likely to go into here in game number 3?
I would not be surprised to see some kind of proxy play, but I don't think we'll see any kind of one-base play from him.
Sure. Any particular reason for that?
A lot of the one-base builds just don't really work quite as well, or they're a bit more risky in Heart of the Swarm. The existence of Widow Mines means that if your opponent chooses to play a little more defensive, it can be so risky to do a medevac drop. It can be so risky to try and do that Hellion run by because of the chance of hitting one of those Widow Mines, especially with the existence of Reapers.
Yep.
And that may be even the more important factor. Reapers are so good at scouting now that if you commit to a one-base, two-gas kind of play, your opponent's going to see it coming. And they're going to have time to react and change their build appropriately.
Well, we have 3 different games here, of course, in this series. Are we going to see 3 completely different strategies come out here from MVP, or will Dream take it 2-1? We'll find out in just a moment, guys, as we hand the reins back over to Todd and Kalaris.
Thanks very much, guys. Back to the captain's desk here for game number 2 between MVP and Dream. We're loading up onto Daybreak here for the second map. And, well, it's 1-1. Could go either way.
Yeah, and MVP has been playing mech. We're on Daybreak, supposedly one of the better mech maps. I'm almost 100% sure here he will go for mech again. Now, Dream, is he up to the challenge again, or will he try to go for mech himself?
Well, this is one of the maps that Dreams exhibited big drop play on in Wings of Liberty, but will that carry on over to Heart of the Swarm? As we have spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner as our blue Terran. He goes by the name of MVP Dream. And spawning up to the top right here as our red Terran. He goes by none other than LGIM's MVP.
And yeah, I just realized that Dream's team is the nickname of MVP.
Wow.
Because you were introducing the player, and then you're like, he goes by the name of MVP. I'm like, what?
Oh yeah, maybe I threw Adebisi off there a little bit with that. But yeah, MVP Dream, that's how it goes. Mr. MVP himself going up against an entire team. Who would have guessed it? So, for now, we'll see what they want to do here. I won't be surprised with the Reaper opening again, but you know, it's such a strong opening. Like, even against something like a Command Center first, it's really annoying to go up against a Reaper opening. So that's why, you know, Command Center first, it's not really been that common in our TVTs thus far.
And MVP scouting for proxies here. He's maybe afraid of that 888 that QXC talked about earlier. He's actually going to go all the way around and make sure there's no proxies, or maybe, I don't think he's going to make something himself, but no, he's going for the refinery himself. A little bit later than Dreams, as always.
Just going around in circles, having a little bit of a scout everywhere, so he knows exactly if his opponent is up to anything sneaky As for now, we'll head on into his opponent's base in just a little bit. Dream, meanwhile, opting not to scout just yet, just getting out a lot of minerals very, very fast. Actually stocking up very, very quickly there. And that first Reaper will be on the way soon.
And you know, that's the problem. When you're a player like MVP and you don't cheese very often, people, they will assume that you never cheese. And Dream now, he's not even bothered scouting for proxies. Imagine if MVP had done a proxy here and MVP might just have died, you know, not being able to see it coming.
Yeah, it would have been a scary prospect here for poor little Dream. As for now, we do have MVP on the way to just a few more minerals here. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if we saw him just save up for a command center, just play this out a little bit safer.
I think factory here, because he's made 2 Marines and he has enough gas for a factory.
Maybe.
He's proxying it at 6 o'clock.
Oh, well, it's pretty much, I'm under the impression it's going to be exactly the same build we've seen him go for in game 1 and 2, trying to go for Hellion drops here still, but really trying to mask it here. The Reapers are going to jump on in, they're going to see a barracks and an extractor, and they're just going to think, oh, well, you're probably just going to go for what seems like a Reaper expand or something like that, but he actually hasn't seen any Reapers just yet, so that might tip him off.
And MVP here, he's going to have a choice. I mean, I think he's going to go for drop, obviously. It can be either be Hellions or Mines. So what is better right now? We're going to find out what he thinks.
Yeah.
And those Marines doing a good job of defending against this Reaper. 1 hit point, barely escaping with 1 hit point, going to regenerate this in a second.
Yeah. And it's a case of, like, Dream, he really wants to get in there with that Reaper because of everything I just said before. But unfortunately for him, I think it would have been better if he hadn't have seen anything going on in his opponent's base. He sees the gas. Well, actually, now that he has seen that 1 gas, he has to be saying, you've only got Marines. What is going on here? Because I see nothing else. It has to be some kind of proxy play.
And you know, oh, another Reaper enters as the first one gets out. And Dream, he saw no building. He's going to know there is some kind of proxy on the way.
Yeah, he has to. There's nothing else that gas could have been spent on. He saw no expansion. He saw, where are you spending all of your money? And for now, he's getting his own starport as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he went for a Viking very quickly, actually, out the back of that.
And we have Dream pumping out as many Marines and Hellion as he can right now. One of the Reapers of Dream is going to be caught back from those Hellions. We have the first Medivac on the way here. He's going to enter the field in a few seconds. And Dream is going to find a proxy here. Yeah,
Dream knew exactly what was going on as soon as those Hellions revealed themselves. He's going to get the SCV. More Hellions are on the way along with that Medivac as well. So Dream should technically be able to prepare himself here against this, having the information. But is it a little too late now that MVP is also going to be bringing some Marines along? So he's going to drop those by the looks of things and actually poking at the front with the Hellions.
Yeah, and Dream is going to have to defend very well here, obviously. It's all about the way he splits and how many SCVs he loses. But, I mean, if he's already in position, this might not make any damage.
Well, the Hellions, Marines should be able to fend that off for now. Where are the Hellions poking at the front? They are not, actually. So MVP does get shut down a little bit, and because of that now he falls behind in SCV production, unfortunately for him. Now the Dream has had his 2 bases up and running for a while, he's going to have double SCVs, whilst MVP is limited to 1 for now, but that's a big drop.
Yeah, MVP is hoping that some of the units are in the expansion, but they're not. Everything is in the main, and Dream should be able to defend against this very nicely if he micros well enough, and so far he's been.
But those 2 Medivacs making a really, really big difference here, healing up those Marines very healthy, and Dream realizes that he knows he's in a little bit of trouble as the SCVs come off the line to try and deal with it, and now MVP is actually camping on his opponent's production facilities, so those Marines of MVP are actually doing so much damage along with those Hellions as well, catching a lot of SCVs. Really nice play there by MVP.
And MVP, he kills as much as he can, which is 16 SCVs here, and behind this, he's going to be getting out of here. Oh, you might actually keep up with the harassment here.
Oh, and there's a Widowmine in there as well. That Viking is trying to go to work on another Viking, but will the Widowmine be able to do much? I don't really think so. Dream has so many units chasing this. So he's actually just going to go straight to the natural. I think he's just going to bypass everything.
Yeah, and he spread those 2 Medivacs out, and the other one is going to drop in the main. MVP right now with the brilliant mic.
Oh, there's the Widowmine. It's burrowing. It's not going to get targeted down. Will the splash damage get it? No, it will not. It catches a few SCVs there. A really nice detonation on that Widowmine to kick things off. And he's going to have to force the scan here during all of this. He kills off everything, along with the Marines as well, but he's so far down.
Yeah, and Dream, he's lost 21 SCVs. He's down to 18 SCVs to the 25 of MVP. MVP, his expansion just finished. He's going to add a couple barracks behind this. If MVP hadn't done all the damage he just did, he would have been very far behind. Yeah. Because Dream, he already had his expansion earlier than MVP, and also with those proxies building, I mean, MVP would have had to fly them back. You can't just make add-on on the factory and pump out tanks at the 6 o'clock position.
Exactly.
So MVP, great vision. He goes for the second medivac. He drops in the main. He does a lot of damage done with 23 SCV kills total in this game. He's now going to be ahead. He's going for bio this game, so no mech. He's ahead. And I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for a timing later on, again with medivacs, maybe with some Stin Marines dropped in the main, or he tries to find a hole just in his opponent's base.
And I really like, actually, the option to go bio here, not only because, you know, it's just a good choice in general, but also because, you know, the buildings he has to fly back now, he's losing a lot of production time on at least a factory, at least a starport as well, so... And that's really going to hinder him if he wanted to go mech, as another Widow Mine just decides to plant itself down. Oh, catches only one SCV for its troubles there.
And you know, he's not expecting this Widow Mine to kill a lot, but he just wants to force some scan. In the meantime, we have another drop in MVP's base this time. It's Dream dropping a couple Hellions. Those players are everywhere right now. Dream has defended at his expansion. He's going to kill everything that's there. In the meantime, he's picked up what was in MVP's main. He's going to try to drop it into the expansion, but I mean, MVP should be aware of that. He has a couple Marines in position here.
And he does kill that Widow Mine just before it actually gets that second charge off and running. As for now, Dream still harassing, still doing a pretty good job. I mean, Dream by no means was super down and out and dead after all of that harassment. As you said, MVP had to do some damage to actually catch up there. And from this point on, it's still pretty darn even as Dream just continues here, making himself a command center. But MVP does have Stim and combat shields now on the way.
Yeah, I think MVP is pretty far ahead. Having this team is so big, he has to be careful not to lose too many units here. He has a lot of raid units in his main, but he's flown back his starport. He's going to start making medivacs. He's adding on a reactor to his factory, which he will swap with his starports. In the meantime, I mean, Dream, he's stabilized, but he's pretty much behind on everything right now, except maybe the command center. He's made his third command center before MVP could, but MVP, they have the same SCV amount, so...
I think there might be a situation here where MVP, well, Dream, yes, he might, well, hold the phone a little bit. Hellion's trying to do some damage. I think they're going to get shooed away pretty quickly. There we go. But, you know, there might be a situation here where Dream, MVP, because he has Stim and combat shields, he might move out a little bit quicker, and then he might start denying the position of Dream at his third a little bit quicker. And from that point on, I think, you know, Dream being ahead in the command center, yes, that's great, but he's not going to be able to utilize it too quickly whilst MVP slowly takes control of the map.
And I like that by Dream. He knew he was most likely behind, so he went for double eBay. He's going to start 1-1 immediately.
Ooh.
He should follow this up with 2-2. Oh, so close.
Yeah, just barely. Igniters helping out quite a lot there. Afterburners indeed useful. As for now, the Hellions get dropped once again. They don't want to be taking any shots from those Marauders, though. Marauders not too weak to those flames.
You know, MVP is neglecting his third command center right now. He has not made it an orbital. He's making SCVs out of it, but you want that third orbital as soon as possible so that you can use mules and scout out of it.
Yep. And he's throwing down his second engineering bay as well as the armor here, just so he can go for 2-2 and eventually 51 supply to 37 here in favor of MVP as he now starts to control his opponent's side of the map. This is exactly what we talked about before, the fact that MVP with the Stim timing, with that potential and extra medevacs in comparison to his opponent, eventually he's going to actually control this area quite nice.
And I'm not sure why MVP didn't attack here. I mean, he's ahead by 10 supply. He has Stim pack. Oh, he's actually going to go for the Doom drop in the main with slots of units, 2 medivacs filled with units. In the meantime, he's going to start attacking the expansion.
And one of those siege tanks gets sniped out completely by the extra bioforce that was out there. A lot of SCVs actually dying off as well. All the SCVs being completely pulled off the line here as 43 workers have gone down in favor of MVP. Dream is reeling and he has to do big damage somehow with these Hellions.
In the meantime, we have a drop by Dream here, going to be heading into the expansion of MVP. He does not have any units nearby. He's going to have to react very quickly if he does not want to lose all of his SCVs there.
That could be a little bit dangerous here. He doesn't really have that many units rallied on out, and there they are. They're going to be able to spring into action. He kills off a few workers, but really not enough to equalize the odds here, as it's still 46 workers to 32 in favor of MVP after all of this aggression.
And the micro and vision of both of these players has been great so far. The reaction time, every single time, MVP dropping in the main now.
Oh, that's a big, big drop here. That's a lot of units. Does he actually have enough to deal with it? He may end up just barely, but I don't even think so as well. He has to fall back to the safety of his siege tank as well. All the SCVs being ran away from this location. Dream is in such a bad position here with MVP camping his facilities. I don't know how Dream is going to be able to execute this. He's going for the push. Will he be able to clean it up? It's going to be so close, but he loses so many workers. He's lost 58, 60, 62. It just keeps going up, and Dream, he's down to 19 workers.
Yeah, we have another drop in MVP's natural. He was able to hold it for now. The thing is, MVP, he was able to snipe the tech lab of Dream before Combat Shield completed. And that's going to be huge, because right now, Dream, he needs to make as many units as possible, and he cannot restart this Combat Shield immediately.
Yeah, it's a pretty difficult situation here for Dream. He's still even in terms of supply, amazingly, but the income is really going to hurt him very soon, as MVP actually has 2 locations placed down to start mining from, and eventually can accrue some good income from those. But for now, he just wants to keep Dream on the back foot, really power all of his production and time into this aggression.
A couple of Marines are going to be attacking the third base of MVP. Oh, a couple of mules there are going to try to escape, but nice chasing here by Dream. This should be denied very soon. Oh, nice. He's targeting the Medivac. Barely going to make it out of here. And MVP is even taking a force base in the middle of the map. I'm surprised he hasn't made it a planetary fortress. Dream, he's been losing so many SCVs that his third orbital command had never left his main until now. He's finally going to fly it to his third base.
And that is the big thing that really hurts Dream here. The fact that he lost those engineering bays, the fact that he lost the armory as well, so he can't catch up with 2-2 that MVP is currently rocketing ahead with here. And again, as you said, that combat shield only just on the way for Dream at the 19 minute mark in this TVT.
Yeah, and MVP, he has 2-2 on the way. I think right now, the best thing for him to do is to wait for these upgrades to kick in, go for a big Doom drop again, attack the third base at the same time. But MVP is on 4 bases. He does not even really need to commit here.
Yeah, and that one Marine denying that third base alone, that is the most annoying thing to happen for Dream here. Realizing that MVP is just so everywhere that he's denying your expansion from landing. But hold the phone, Dream finding a little bit of a hole here in his opponent's defenses. He's going to try and catch some SCVs, but still MVP stimming up here, trying to find a good position to defend. And he will catch one of the medevacs, but a second one speeding on with those afterburners.
And Dream definitely overextending here. Up until now, he never overcommitted with these drops, but now he really ran into the whole army of MVP, and he had one of those medivac snipes. He might get another one here if he's not careful. MVP just trying to defend with 2 Marines against 5. Not going to work out for now. He's going to bring more reinforcements as Dream leaves the premises for now.
Yeah, and he's just streaming across the map here. There is that sensor tower keeping an eye on the front of Dream's base, but I don't think MVP will stray into that until the very last second when he's actually able to go for the engagement and feels comfortable with it. As he's just skirting around the outsides of it. He's happy to do so.
Yeah, this medivac is ridiculous. He's just never going to die throughout the game and drop all the time.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job here as Dream of really keeping MVP back with that, but at the same time he's actually going to push in into the third. That's pretty heavily fortified though with those 2 siege tanks, so they will do a lot of damage. Bits of Marines fly everywhere.
And huge mistake here by MVP not scanning before going in. I really think the best option for him right now is to go for the big Doom drop, but we have a sensor tower at the third base of Dream, so he's going to be able to see any kind of units headed this way. So he should be extra careful as to detecting the drops headed for his main.
Yeah, I think he leaves the vision, he loads up and he just goes straight for it, and there you go. And he has 1 siege tank, a few Marines in there along with the Viking. Dream has to anticipate this. Where is his opponent's units gone? He doesn't have vision of them. He's still dropping, but here we go.
And MVP's 3-3 is going to engage against just 1 tank and a couple units here. Units are going to be streaming out of those buildings of Dream, and great positioning here for MVP.
Oh, so good. Dream did not react in time. He didn't see where his opponent's army was, and he's going to be punished for it. MVP here, he could take out so much production facilities even if he actually pushes back all of these Marines. Dream cannot bring these siege tanks forwards that he desperately needs to actually kill off this army.
And you see, this came at the perfect time, because Dream, he wanted to have the sensor tower to see this coming, and he just finished right as the drop was entering his base. So MVP here, he's basically killed everything. He's going to mana mule his opponent, and the Master is going to take the win in this third game.
There's the mules, and now all of the factories are going to die off. Dream scans everything. GG. Done and dusted. MVP takes Dream out 2-1.
And MVP is going to find himself in a great position in this group with 3 victories and no defeats just yet.
Pretty impressive, pretty impressive. He was a king in Wings of Liberty. Now he's showing that he might indeed be a king in Heart of the Swarm. We'll see what our analysis desk has to say here from Jarosar, QXE, and Harston.
All right, thank you very much for that, guys. A really, really cool game there on Daybreak. And first things first, QXE, pretty good job there predicting something was going to be proxy. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, the proxy factory there is a pretty strong build. More commonly seen in Wings of Liberty than in Heart of the Swarm. And
yes.
one of the reasons there, and I was kind of talking about this during the game, is in the game, Dream scouted almost everything that MVP was doing. He scouts his entire main twice. Yeah. 2 Reapers, 1 right after another, and he's like, oh, you don't have units there.
No buildings, no units, no command center.
Yeah, and from that point, he knows.
I think that sums it up pretty much perfectly there. He knew that something was going on. Where are you spending your gas? Trying to work it out. Even if he didn't scout the exact location of the proxy, he knew that something was going on. We will be taking a look at some of the engagements after that in just a moment. But in the meantime, we're going to be heading on over to main stage for a quick interview.
Hey guys, thank you so much. MVP, how have the new units and the new upgrades affected your traditional mech play?
메카닉 플레이를 할 때 이제 군심 유닛들과 패치들이 무슨 영향을 끼쳤는지.
일단 화염기각병이 굉장히 게임에 큰 영향을 준다고 생각해요. 어느 정도 맷집도 굉장히 세고 상대 본진에 떨어졌을 때 1군도 쉽게 잡을 수 있기 때문에 그 점이 가장 크게 변한 것 같아요.
He thinks the most important thing about the changes for the Terran mech army is the Hellion transforming to the Hellbat, so they can tank a lot of damage for the mech army, so it's really, really good for the Terran.
Well, what happened in Game 2 against Dream from your perspective?
마지막 게임에서 마지막 게임을 이제 좀 설명하자면 정중환 선수가
솔직히 처음 써본 빌드였어가지고 그냥 그렇게 큰 자신감은 없이 플레이했는데 처음에 이득도 많이 보고 그리고 거머리 지뢰가 상대 미네랄 지역에 박히면 스캔을 써야 되기 때문에 굉장히 손해가 커요. 그거를 적극 이용했어요.
Actually, it was a build order strategy he never used, so it was a really new strategy. And he wasn't that confident about it, but when he could do a lot of damage with the Wither Mine and the Mineral Line, because the opponent had to scan it, so it was really effective, and eventually he could win the game.
Well, players are already saying that of the 3 races, Terran might be the biggest threat in Heart of the Swarm. Are you worried at all that if you win, it might get nerfed?
이제 많은 선수들이 테란이 엄청 센 종족이라고 하는데 군심에서 MVP 선수가 이 터널을 테나로는 이기면 또 너프가 당할까봐 무섭지 않냐고.
이미 수많은 유닛을 너프 시켰기 때문에 별로 두려운 건 없고요. 그냥 이왕 이렇게 제가 다 너프 시킨 김에 모든 테란 유닛을 제가 너프 시키려고요.
He's not afraid anymore of incoming patches. He's now used to it because there are so many patches which nerf Terran. So he just wants to win and show that he is very good.
All those nerfs might have been your fault, but thank you so much for the incredible game. We're going to go back to the analysts, take a look at the replay, and when we come back, we're going to have something special for you guys. Stay tuned.
Thank you very much for that, Rachel. And we are indeed going to be dissecting a little bit of MVP's play here in his game number 3. Of course, a little bit earlier in the replay, which is not what we're going to show, but there was like a really quick poking, sort of a lot of in and out between about the 8-10 minute mark with those proxy medevacs darting in and out of the base. But that sets us up really well for what we are about to see in the replay.
Yeah, the proxy factory play there, even though Dream scouted it, I think MVP did a really good job in. He saw it coming, Dream, but he still didn't have the units to deal with it. And it's a good strategic decision by MVP. He does a build like, yeah, you went Reapers. So if you go Reapers, you're going to scout this. But if you go Reapers, you're not going to be able to defend it. And that was really what we saw there, was even though Dream had all his units in the right position, he was converting all of his money that he could into units, into defense. He just couldn't hold it. There was just too much.
Yeah, at first it felt like he was able to defend, but when the second medevac joined, that's when trouble started kicking in for Dream.
Yeah.
And we're going to be hopping into the replay at around the 14-minute and 30-second mark to take a look at some of the damage and how we sort of led on into the later stages of the game here. So let's hop straight in.
So one of the important things about this game that we kind of alluded to early on is, hold on one sec, is because MVP did so much damage with that earlier drop, we can see MVP has a dominating position on the map. His production goes up much earlier. He's able to invest in that third command center much earlier. He has additional resources to invest in these 2 eBays and this armory. And so with that early pressure, that early damage that he does, leads into this extremely aggressive position that he's able to take on the map. We can see he's got a Bioforce at the natural, also a Bioforce going into the main. Meanwhile, Dream is just going up onto 3 barracks. His upgrades are going, but he hasn't been able to afford an armory yet. He hasn't started a third command center. And all of this is kind of a snowball effect because of all the economic damage that he took earlier. So even though we can see that the number of harvesters at this point is equal, when we look at the workers killed, Dream has spent a huge amount of money compared to MVP on replenishing those workers. 20 more SCVs built than his opponent.
Instead of getting the infrastructure, he had to replenish those SCVs. Wasn't able to get a command center, and yeah, that's all minerals, of course.
Right. And not only that, but the time where MVP had more workers than his opponent, he was accumulating more resources, banking more resources. So even now at this point, they have the same income. MVP's been spending more of his resources on more useful things during the earlier parts of this game. So now let's take a look at this drop. MVP does a really good job here of pressuring. Basically what he's trying to do here is he's got an upgrade advantage in terms of combat shields versus his opponent. And so what he wants to do is force a battle. But because Dream had his siege tank strategically positioned, he had a bunker here, he's not going to be able to have a cost-efficient battle going into the natural directly. So what he does is he loads up a large number of units and drops directly into the main to force that engagement, and then brings the rest of his units once the siege tank isn't necessarily protected as well. Because it's not the siege tank, its durability is relatively limited. And so it's not that it's a big deal that... The big deal about engaging the siege tank head-on is that you can't get to it.
It's going to be there for the complete fight.
Right, because there's so much bio. There's a bunker buffering it. You can pull SCVs off the line, all this stuff. So MVP drops in the main to pull all of those buffering units away. Then he can bring his units up the natural, snipe the tank, and all of a sudden he's got a very cost-efficient engagement in Dream's main where he's going to be able to do damage.
And speaking of head-on engagements there, of course, the similar kind of philosophy set us up for the final engagement of the game when MVP decided actually now is an appropriate time to head into my opponent's base with a Doom drop. The tanks were sieged up at the natural. Dream had a very defensive posture, so that was the kind of opportunity that MVP wanted to try and force that engagement.
Yep, definitely. Dream was kind of forced into making siege tanks because it was... If he went into bio and his opponent is going bio, they're doing the same thing, but MVP is doing it better.
He's just going to kill him.
Right. Yeah. There's no huge defender's advantage. You can form a concave, but it's not the same as if you get a couple of siege tanks and you put your bio out in front. The splash damage makes a tremendous difference.
So very well played there to MVP, who takes that 2-1 victory over Dream. Speaking of, by the way, the chance that MVP might be able to go on and win this tournament, it's also important for us to remind everyone out there that MVP or whoever ends up winning this tournament will be invited to the Heart of the Swarm launch event in France. So that's going to be pretty exciting stuff. Blizzard have extended an open invitation to the champion of the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship to be a VIP guest at that. So fingers crossed for MVP if he can win this. But whoever it ends up being, that's a pretty sweet invitation to have. And speaking of Heart of the Swarm as well, Blizzard are going to be introducing a brand new trailer to the Heart of the Swarm on Friday, tomorrow actually, and we have just a little bit of a teaser video to show you guys what that's actually going to involve. So we're going to hop to a commercial break now and a presentation before we get into our next best of 3. But before we do that, check out this little clip. I think that was pretty self-explanatory.
I'm pretty sure that was day 9.
I'm pretty sure that was day 9. I haven't actually seen that before either. That was really cool. So don't forget, guys, the world premiere for that event is an hour before Blizzard are actually releasing that to YouTube. So the Intel Extreme Masters here, we have the exclusive launch of that trailer, and that will be tomorrow, I believe, at 5 p.m. CET. We will be playing that for you guys. So we'll be right back, guys, after this presentation. Hop over to a commercial before that, and we'll see you for the next best of 3 here in Hanover, Germany.